if there was something that you would like to tell the American people that are watching us right now, like what is the biggest misconception they have about Syria? Like what is something that you need to tell the American people about Syria that they don't know?
Well, they don't know much of anything. You know, there are a lot of people that are awake, but most people don't have the first clue. I would say what I want them to know is that Syria is an awesome country. It's an amazing place, deep history, fascinating culture, great diversity, empowered women who are everything from the vice president to jet pilots to doctors, physicists, everything. You can walk down the street and there'll be churches and mosques and bars and nightclubs and museums and art galleries. You know, Syria is like a person that has it all. It's not that there aren't problems here, but the problems are not a brutal dictator. The problems are not a civil war. The problems that are the main problems here is that the West decided that Syria was next on the list to take over, just like we did Iraq and just like we did Libya and just like we've been trying to do Afghanistan. It's just the next on the list. And we determined to try to destroy all of this wonderful stuff that's here. And so, you know, I guess the basic message is for Americans that America is the aggressor. Syria is the defender. This is your country. Syria is for Syrians. What happens here is none of our business. We need to get out. We need to end the sanctions and allow you all to determine your own future. This is my basic message.
Well, it's a lovely message, and thank you so much for that. And saying after listening to what you said, like the main reason why they failed, the Western countries and even the Middle Eastern countries like the Saudi Arabians and the Qatari and the Turkey, like the main reason why they failed in Syria is because the Syrian people who had awareness. Yes. They saw what happened in Iraq, and they saw what happened in Libya, and they were like, we don't want the same thing that happened in Iraq and Libya to happen here in Syria. Like, look at the difference between Libya when in the Gaddafi days and Libya now. Like Libya now, it's full of terrorist groups. They're selling slaves. If you look at Iraq till today, they're still recovering from the war that they faced, or Afghanistan. So, like, we see that any country that the West puts its hands on, they destroy it. So that's the last thing we want. So we were aware that, okay, there are terrorist groups here in Syria. They are funded by this country, by this other country, and most of them are not Syrians, and they're holding weapons. Okay, so we were aware of this because we learned from the mistakes of other countries. Yes. So that is what helped us.
Yeah, I think there's a perception in the West that Syria is some kind of Iron Curtain country, and that you only know what the government tells you to know through authorized channels and stuff. They don't even realize that you have full access to the internet.
Yeah.
You're watching CNN, you're watching BBC, you're watching Fox News, you hear what the State Department is saying. You know everything of what's going on. And I call it, you know, the savvy of Syrians. Syria was coveted and fought over by the Egyptians and the Hittites, you know, all throughout history. People have wanted to control you because there is so much beauty and natural resources, and geographically it's a key position. So I say Syrians can spot an imperialist, you know, from 5,000 miles away trying to come to take over their country.
Yeah, that's very true.